Before we start, just a heads up. This chapter of the story gets heavy and includes themes of mental health and grief. If you need to, come back when the time is right. Also, if you haven't heard the previous episode, The Philosopher and the Artist, go listen to that episode first. Okay, here we go. 12. Polish Pyramid Goodbye. Tiled walls, a slow dripping faucet. I stand at the sink and my body sways, sleep deprived. I'm somewhere far away. On the counter's my phone with an unexpected message from Weronika. Hi, Jonny. I'm very, very sorry, but I'm bringing very bad news. I have no idea what it could possibly be. Bad news. Very bad news. Go and find out. Welcome to Go and Find Out. I'm Jonny Wright. This is a story of losing yourself in the world. I left my home, my job, and the USA in order to learn the old-fashioned way, with first-hand experience. Some people go on a journey to find themselves. I went on a journey to lose myself, and instead find the world. In these episodes, I ask big questions about life. Not from an armchair, but from roadsides and mountaintops, from temple halls and dance halls. Join me as I hitchhike across the world, embrace the unexpected, and let go one step at a time. If you've ever thought about living a life outside the box, keep listening. Because this isn't just my story. It's about what happens when you start to wonder what your story could be. You don't need to hitchhike around the world. I'm here to empower you to live with more courage, more curiosity, and more adventure, right here, right now. Let's go and find out. We step inside the old schoolhouse, and the air changes texture. A cool quiet, full of wood and tobacco and a faintly herbal waft. It's been a whole year since Weronika and Tomasz and I formed our trio and stumbled through the Polish Art Museum. A lot changes in a year. Weronika leads me past the kitchen, past the sunlit hallway where two terriers doze on the tiles, and up a narrow staircase. The steps are old pine, worn soft in the middle. Each one gives a sigh as we move up. At the top is the attic. A big open room with slanted ceilings and wide planks and light pouring in through the west-facing windows. It smells like varnish and beeswax. And is that ink? The space is open, the edges littered with sculptures and half-finished paintings and candles in absurd shapes. There's a fat wooden desk tucked under one of the windows, and the light hits it like an altar. And suddenly Weronika's whole aesthetic makes sense. This rough, elegant nonchalance I'd tried to figure out since Kraków. It all snaps into place. Of course, this is where she's from. Her parents are tattoo artists, some of the first in Poland after the Iron Curtain fell. And they smuggled equipment in from England and France, turned this old village schoolhouse into a studio, and then a home. Right now they're away at a tattoo convention. Weronika shrugs as I take it in. It's a mess, she says, without apology. I shake my head. It's perfect. She drops her bag on the desk, lights a cigarette, and sits on the big wooden chair. I hear heavy footsteps. Tomasz bursts through the door, his chestnut hair in all directions. He's smiling, from his blue eyes to his outstretched arms. He looks a little gaunter than the year before, but he's happy. The gang's back together. That next day, for one sharp day, everything is almost too good, too sweet. It felt like the pendulum had stopped mid-swing, and for a moment we were weightless. But of course it never stops for long. You can feel it in the silence. The pendulum has to swing. And I can feel something coming. Or maybe it's something leaving. Saturday, a few months later. Weronika finished her day of teaching and thought of Tomasz far away in Kraków.
I remember it was Saturday, I was at work, and I wanted to discuss with him like the conversations I had with my students. And so I called him, and he was kind of upset, but also sleepy because it was in the morning, but he said that he was still sleeping.
That day, something was off. He wasn't himself. But Tomasz was often not himself. And then he said something that made the conversation stick in her mind.
But he said something that he had a bad day and he was not sober, that he just I don't know, took something, and that he said he will call me later.
He did call again that same day, but by then, he was spiraling.
He was in a kind of paranoid state or something like this, and sometimes he had those states that he was in some kind of imaginary trap, and it was kind of difficult to find out where he's starting to, fictionalize things. Where is the reality, whatever it means? Like his fear and pain was always real. So no matter if the cause was fictional or real, I was always moved and upset when it happened.
She tried to stay calm and talk him down.
I remember that he was asking me to, he sent some code on my phone because he couldn't receive it because he blocked his phone and also was blocking his accounts on social media because he had some kind of, paranoid idea that someone was trying to take some information for him or something.
It sounded like a familiar pattern, one of the old ones, one she'd seen before.
I was also kind of irritated because this talk took a lot of time, it was for half an hour or more, and I was a little bit angry. It's again the situation that he has a problem and then he calls me and wants me to resolve this problem no matter how I feel, this unfair situation, let's say.
That was Saturday. The air smells of sun-warmed dust and Weronika's tobacco. A bee floats against the window pane. Morning dew brightens the fields, everything shining and growing. Sunflowers popping up along the quiet lane. And somehow, we're all together again. Weronika, Tomasz, and me. It's been a year since Kraków, but despite the time that's passed, there's been no accumulated rust. Like someone pressed pause, and now simply press play again. We each have something we're working on. Tomasz is writing about Kierkegaard. Weronika's drafting a review for an exhibition opening this weekend. And I'm writing about dust motes, how they hover in the light. Nothing we're doing is coordinated, but it feels like it's part of the same project, because of the same faith, that if you look long enough at the thing that magnetizes you, some truth will rise out of it, eventually. There's a kind of joy in that belief, a sense that something is happening, even if we can't say what. Our conversations loop around obscure philosophers and dream images and theories of beauty. And the through line is laughter. Tomasz makes a joke so layered and strange that Weronika and I just look at each other in baffled awe until she finally says, "Wait, what?" The words we write for now are private, but the proximity matters. Just knowing someone else is nearby, pacing or typing or scratching out a line. Friends creating beside one another, coexisting in the pursuit of expression. But of course, we can't stay in the attic forever. Tomasz starts to stir. First the pacing, then the declarations. He wants to go somewhere, and not just anywhere. He wants to visit the Polish pyramids. Months later, Sunday. Weronika still on the phone with Tomasz in Kraków, who sounds unhinged and unwell.
I was feeling that he's really not well, and I was asking him to come to Poznań so he could rest here and we can work on his PhD. And he said he'll think about it, and then we just say goodbye.
On Sunday, nothing. No texts, no call. No one else heard from him either. So, on Monday, Weronika got on a train to Kraków.
And I just thought I will make some drama and I tell him he's a stupid little kid and he should eat something healthy and stop, worrying about himself that much and spend the day or two cooking and cleaning up and, making those motivational speeches. So I was not that worried.
This wasn't the first time she'd had to pull him out of his own mind. She took the 5-hour train south and walked from the station, the same way she had the first day I met her. But this time, there was worry inside her.
When I came to his flat, I was seeing that light is on, and so I felt like relief that he's inside.
But he didn't answer.
But then I started to knock to the doors, and I only heard the screaming of his cat. I was knocking to the doors and to the windows, and there was no possibility to look through the window because he had these curtains, and he was always trying to stay invisible inside.
As the birds sing and Weronika and I rinse lunch dishes in the sink, Tomasz throws open the back door and walks toward the garage. He's calling today a pilgrimage.
I remember that Tomasz had some kind of aphorism. He was saying that it's important to make things important or to make things seem important. Like the importance lays in that effort of making them important. And I agree in a way.
He's fully committed now. The Polish pyramids, he insists. We have to go. No further explanation. He's already yanking open the garage, dragging out the old Opel Astra, clearing junk off the passenger seat. Weronika and I exchange a look, something between amusement and resignation. Once Tomasz locks onto an idea, it crystallizes into ritual. You don't say no to ritual. You grab your water bottle, lace your shoes, and climb in. Weronika rides up front. She's got her PhD, but never learned to drive. And I take the back seat. The doors clank shut. Tomasz mutters something about 90 meters long, Neolithic burial site, and we're off. The road peels away under us, gravel to asphalt, then narrow farm lanes between endless wheat fields. The car hums and creaks. The sky is glassy and white. Tomasz jerks the wheel left and right to avoid potholes without slowing down. He monologues the entire way about language and sacred geography and Slavic folklore. And somehow also about Kierkegaard. I half listen. I've learned to float in his thinking, to catch pieces as they pass by. What I really pay attention to is Weronika's face, silhouetted in front of me as she looks out the window. Expressions move across it. Respect, irritation, amusement, constantly vacillating. She doesn't say much, but you can tell when she's had enough. She leans her head back against the headrest and disappears into the passing fields. It's our last day together. Tomasz is going back to Kraków. I'm heading south to the gathering in Macedonia, to the great gleaming fire. Weronika has classes starting back in Poznań. We haven't said any of that directly, but it rides along with us in the car. The ticking clock, faint and steady. We pull off the road into a clutch of pine trees. Tomasz parks, kills the engine, and steps out. The heat is dense. The car clicks as it cools. Months later, Monday, 6:30 p.m. Weronika stood outside Tomasz's apartment in Kraków, in that same courtyard where the two of us had become friends. She knocked and stepped back, expecting it to fly open at any moment. No answer. She kept knocking, 15 minutes, 30, maybe more.
I felt like a main hero in some kind of not good film, like about criminals or something. Like in those films, they always get inside closed flats or houses very easily. It's not that easy. And you feel like really stupid because, it's a very serious situation, but still in the back of your head, you have this scenario that now you are that person and you cannot act this like in a proper way, and you in fact don't know what to do. And I was even scared to be too loud or to knock too loud.
Finally, she remembered that the neighbor had a spare key.
So I knocked to her and she gave me them. She was also really scared because she heard that knocking, and she said that the light is on for a few days, but she didn't see Tomasz out.
Weronika went back with the key and unlocked the door.
So I just opened the doors with the keys, and it was like awful because the flat was completely like in scratches. It was a mess. Like there was usually a mess, but that was an extreme mess, like somebody was looking for something. Everything was like, upside down.
She stepped into the kitchen, then the living room. Lady and ostrich ferns delicately wave as the insect hum gets louder and louder. We follow a narrow path into the woods. It's only a short walk, maybe 10 minutes. Then we see them, long, low mounds of stone rising out of the ground like shipwrecks beneath a thin layer of earth. Ancient graves covered in moss. They're older than Christianity, older than Poland itself. All that stone and months of work to build, and for what? To preserve the dead, to make their mark permanent. I step forward and brush against the stalks poking through the stones. You can't stop one thing from becoming another. This place was meant for the dead, but look, now it's for all these waving, buzzing, growing things. We stand there in silence for a moment. Then Tomasz says, "Okay, we've seen it." He's dead serious. "You want to go?" I ask. He shrugs. "Yeah, we've seen it."
That usually I had an impression that it's more about the process of getting to the thing than having this thing. Like, the adventure of being on the way to something.
Weronika just smirks and shakes her head. She knew this would happen. I follow them back to the car. Months later. Monday, 7:15 p.m. The bedroom was a wreck. Books and papers scattered all over the floor. Furniture knocked over. Lights still on, their lampshades crooked. Among the wreckage, there was one object that caught Weronika's attention in the middle of the room.
And Tomasz was just laying there on the floor with his back naked in his pyjama, and he was like a one thing among plenty of different things laying on the ground.
She touched him once. His skin was firm and cold. Then she stepped outside.
And then I went out and locked the door, and I couldn't go inside anymore.
The courtyard looked just the same as before. orange, shimmering squares of windows looking down at her. But for Weronika, everything was different.
So I remember that I was standing on the stairs, the same stairs that we were sitting together and talking, and I was smoking a cigarette, and I was thinking that I'm standing on the stairs and smoking a cigarette, and then I thought that it's weird that it's an extreme situation and I am standing on the stairs and smoking a cigarette and thinking about this ad infinitum, ad infinitum, ad infinitum, ad infinitum, ad infinitum, ad infinitum.
She didn't even know how to act like someone in shock. The movies had trained her for this, maybe, but when the moment arrived, she didn't feel like a tragic figure. She just felt confused. There was a body just inside. The glare of sun on water splinters in constant fireworks. It hurts my eyes, but it's hard to look away. On the way back from the megaliths, we've stopped at a lake Weronika used to visit when she was a kid. It's small, surrounded by reeds and pine trees, tucked behind a sleepy roadside town. Tomasz grabs red and white popsicles and an energy drink from a convenience store and meets us down by the sand. The sun is high, the sky is bleached pale, the lake barely ripples. Weronika dives in, long strokes slicing the surface. She swims like her body knows this water better than it knows the air. I walk in slowly, wading and splashing, letting the droplets sting my face. Tomasz sits on the sand. He doesn't like water. That's what he tells us. Always had a thing about it. He watches from the shore, sweaty and stiff, cracking open the can. His face pulls in on itself. I know that look. He's not just hot, he's annoyed by his own discomfort. He wants to swim, but his body won't go. Eventually, Tomasz forces himself into the water. He walks out to his knees, mutters something profane under his breath, then lowers in like he's entering a vat of acid. Weronika and I watch him from farther out and applaud. He flinches every time a wave touches his chest. Still, he does it. For a moment, we're all in the water together. I look up at the yellow beach. Tomasz's can of energy drink is half buried in the sand, his towel slumped beside it like a forgotten flag. There's the three of us, floating. Months later, Wednesday. After I heard what had happened, I found myself in a narrow bathroom, somewhere far from home and far from Poland. Tiled walls, a slow dripping faucet. I stood at the sink and looked into the mirror. Not at myself exactly, just into the glass. I had the sense that if I could look hard enough, some shape would appear. I kept seeing him, a dozen versions of the same moment. Tomasz lying peacefully, Tomasz in a scene of chaos, a chair pulled back from the desk, blood on the floor, a crumpled note, nothing at all. The images flickered through like a slideshow, each one more vivid than the last.
So I was like naming all the acts that I was making and so on, and that was weird and creepy. I'm standing on the stairs and smoking a cigarette. I'm standing on the stairs, but also very natural, because what else to do?
I was doing something similar, not naming my actions out loud, but looping thoughts, looping feelings, trying to assign meaning. If it was an overdose, I should feel helpless. If suicide, maybe guilt. Murder, then what? Anger. Grief at the randomness. I kept reaching for the version that would tell me how to feel. We drive Tomasz to the train station. The town is mid-size, barely a car on the streets. We park just outside and walk him through the underpass, then up onto the platform. It's quiet, the kind of summer evening where time feels like it's holding its breath. Tomasz has one suitcase. He rolls it behind him, slightly crooked. He's grinning, energized, already half in the next chapter. He paces the platform like a boxer warming up. Weronika watches him with the smallest shake of her head, some cocktail of affection and exasperation. He's already disappearing into the future. The train arrives. There's a hiss, a gust, a slow glide of steel. Doors slide open. He turns to us, lifts his hand. "See ya," he says. We say nothing, just wave. He steps over the threshold. Tomasz stands in the doorway. He turns to us, squinting into the light, one hand still on the rail. He's not in a rush. There's that grin again, mischief, anticipation, and flicker of nerves. But mostly momentum. As if he's already gone. And we're still here, on the platform, watching him. Months later, Monday, 7:45 p.m. She called emergency services.
They asked me if he's still alive, and I just knew that he's not. So they didn't come, and they just sent the police. That's it. The police
That was
just
it.
asked me about
The police
my
asked her name and
uh,
number, and then she was
phone
allowed to go
number, and
home.
Then I was able to
In the
go
days
home.
that followed, the police opened a case. The apartment was examined. A mess of evidence. Or maybe just a mess. It looked like someone had torn the place apart looking for something, which led to speculation, break-in, assault. But there were no signs of forced entry, no missing items, no evidence of another person. And then came the autopsy. Isn't it strange how we let this one fact, the cause of death, determine so much about a life? Tomasz had died of a heart attack. He had a genetic heart condition no one had been aware of. It was sudden and severe. His body had given out. He wasn't murdered. He didn't overdose. It wasn't suicide. And what did heart failure have to do with the young scholar's life? Did it put the final piece in the puzzle? No. There was no resolution in it. Tomasz's was a life so paradoxical that I hoped it would be fixed by one brilliant object. One great idea would be enough to gather all the other bits and shreds together and call it meaningful. But that's not what happened. If only his brilliance had coalesced into a published novel, then we could look back and say, what a beautiful gift he gave us. Look at this life, these 33 years, lived to bring us this one shining thing. But that's not what happened. That's never what happens. It's only us who are left behind who mythologize. Life is a lot messier than our romantic notions. It was the first time a friend from the road had passed. I wish I could say it was the last. It was when I realized that saying goodbye, waving as the train doors shut, can be saying goodbye. Letting that person take their leave of life itself. All journeys come to an end. And while we're here, before the doors shut, we're left with the chance to live in these fragments. The feelings and mistakes. The unfinished brightness. Go and find out. That's it for this episode of Go and Find Out. Thanks for spending this time with me. Seriously, it means a lot that you're here, listening to this story. I'd love to hear from you. Thoughts, stories, weird travel tips, whatever's on your mind. Drop me a line at goandfindoutpod@gmail.com. I'll do my best to write you back. This show is created by me, Jonny Wright, with music by me, unless otherwise noted. If you're enjoying the ride, follow along so new episodes come straight to you every other Thursday. And hey, if you've got a second, leaving a quick review or rating really helps spread the word. But more than anything, I hope this episode sparked something, however small. A question, a dream, a reminder that your life is still unfolding. The only real adventure we have is right now. Go and find out.
Go and find out. Go and find out.